Every now and then we have to take a deep breath and weigh things out in our lives and stand firmly on our square. Stand firmly on our principles. And we should indeed have principles. If you're listening to me, and for those of you that are listening to me and watching me right now, I want to encourage you to never be swayed from what you firmly believe in. Now, understand, comprehend that when I say believe in, I'm talking about a belief that's grounded in facts. Not what you want to call facts. That's grounded in logic. That's grounded in common sense. Standing on those principles. We can all make up our own narratives. We can all use our vivid imaginations and hope things are a certain way, and they really are not that way. But let's be men and women. Let's be adults and face things as they are. What I'm getting at is this. Over the past year, I have helped people that were in distress during COVID, during the pandemic. And these individuals in distress were homeless, destitute, if you will, sleeping out of doors, cold and inclement weather. I brought them into my home for short stints. And there's another individual that currently he resides with me still. Now, some people say, well, you don't open your doors to strangers, people that you don't know. Is that really the truth? Some people don't have any control over their circumstances. Some people create their own circumstances. But there are indeed some legitimate situations where people just fall between the cracks, or castaways, if you will, family, friends, whomever. And those of us who have a conscience try to reach out and help. And I've done that. It's not the first time this past year. All my life, for the most part, my adult life. But more recently this past year, COVID. Now, I have one individual that has a problem with drinking, amongst other things. And I took them in, and I'm not beating up on them. I'm not going to mention their name. It's not important. I'm talking about principles. Now, it's been with me for a while now, and I've decided that it's not good for us to be together in the same home. And he seems to be detached from reality to a great degree. And the alcoholism, if you will, and I do call it alcoholism, because if I smell alcohol on you every other day, or I see paraphernalia, cans and bottles, so I don't like when I allow you to come into my home, me establishing some rules, because you're going to be living in my home, the same house that I'm in, not some cottage outside the house or an annex behind the building or what have you. You're actually under the same roof as I am. And I don't like when I allow someone to come in, and I'm doing you a favor, and a Samaritan act, if you will, humanitarian act, because you don't have a place at the moment to move into. you coming in and you're breaking my rules, and I established those rules from day one, ground zero. I don't allow drinking and smoking in my home, and I knew he did both. So I said, if you can follow these conditions, then you can come. So, okay, no problem. Now, I didn't want to do a contractual thing, and that's usually me doing things on paper. But I like the gentleman's agreement for the most part. So that's what I did. So, yes, no problem is what he tells me. All right. A couple months later, I find a beer container in my home that's been expended or drank, if you will. And I mention it. Okay. Then later on, I found another beer container, empty. So I remind this individual. Anyway, fast forwarding to today, over several months, I have kept tolerating these, for lack of an expression or a better expression, a way of putting this disingenuous behavior where this person goes against my principles. I've never smoked, never drank, never done drugs, and I don't allow it in my home, in my dwelling. That's my place. That's my home. That's my castle, as it were. And I'm not going to allow any stranger, family member, or whomever to come into my home and unsettle my rest and or my peace. So it's come to bear, along with some other issues, but that's the worst. When I leave to go to work, and this gentleman is not at work, and he's at home on his off day or what have you, I find out that he's been smoking in my home and drinking in my home and so forth, and he keeps giving me excuses. He's stressed out from his job and so on and so forth, as if I never said anything to him at all. So you can't speak rationally to someone when they are under the influence of alcohol. And I'm preserving myself from turning to my dark side, and I don't like that. That's not what makes me feel comfortable. So I'm too old to be dealing with that. So I don't want to physically put my hands on anyone. So I'm going to quell the situation by having this individual move here expeditiously. So the premise of this whole video is not just that situation. No, I just wanted to use that or preface this real subject matter by using that example. You have to learn, ladies and gentlemen, to stand on what you believe in. No compromise. I'm too old, not dirt old, but I'm too old to be dealing with grown people who have not grown up. I am. And you should be also, if you have encountered individuals like this, or you're even currently dealing with a situation like this. Stand on your principles firmly and don't acquiesce. Don't back down. Sometimes it may make you feel a little guilt if you have to put a person out, or if you have to turn a family member away. I'm not just talking about in a situation like this as far as someone needing housing and so forth, but I'm just saying even from the standpoint of someone needing you to loan them some money or to help them pay a bill or things like this. Sometimes you have to say no because people are engaging in destructive behavior, but they know better and they can do better, and you know they can do better and they know they can do better. But as long as you are kind to them, as long as you keep assisting them, as long as you keep enabling them, they're not going to change. It's really that simple. So even as it relates to going to a restaurant and your food is not what you ordered, speak up respectfully as an adult, but firmly. Don't just accept anything that someone says to you and what someone does to you if it's inappropriate. Don't accept it at all. Stand on it. Don't cower in the corner. I don't know of any other way to put it to you. You heard me say this before, I'm going to say it again. We come this way once in our lifetimes. We are only here once in this capacity as human beings. So we have to make the best of our lives while we are here. And we don't deserve to be trodden down, to be beat up, to be oppressed and depressed by anyone. That's it. And that's all. We, you, deserve to be happy as much as lie within all of us and under our control. You deserve it. We deserve it. Stop letting people push your buttons. Stop letting people trigger you. And this is a good point on the Chris Rock Will Smith issue. Will Smith should have had better control of himself. I was not there in his home. A lot of things have been going on with him and his family from what I gathered. That's not my issue, my fault, or anyone else's. That's between him and his family. But whatever he was dealing with did not give him a right to leave his seat and walk up on stage and assault Chris Rock. That should have never happened. And anything within reason in terms of penalty that can be imposed upon him, it should happen to make an example so that people in the future are not so eager or apt to do the same thing. That's it. And that's all. Tell me what you think. We'll see you next time. So long.